Okay, there's a funk beat I can't get out of my head. It's kind of crept into modern drumming, and I'm not 100% sure from where. But it's this double-timed, slightly drum and bassy thing. It's not exactly the literal drum and bass thing, though. Like, it's not completely this, which we've covered on the channel. It's also not this exactly. But it is this.
No storms in these waters, so quiet, they're turning stale.
In my research, I've come across threads and strands of a narrative. Chris Dave himself obviously looms large, especially in his recordings in the early 2000s with Meshell Ndegeocello. I've also heard D'Anthony Parks mentioned. In my Google searching for this, words like broken beat drumming or broken groove drumming keep coming up. And in my efforts to unravel this mystery, I reached out to several people who I thought might, you know what, I'm over it. I'm gonna make my own guesses about where this came from. For instance, check out this Meshell track with Chris Dave. What's that sound like to you? We'll get into it. Either way, while I may be sketchy on its origins, what I can do is show you how to play this beat. Because even I've been inspired to pull that out on the odd occasion. Oh, you're probably wondering, why do I care? Well, because in the right context, it sounds sick. And it's easier to learn than you think. I'm Nate, and people call me the 80/20 drummer. And on this channel, we cover a non-zero amount of but mainly drums. Anyway, today on the channel, for the love of God, can someone please tell me what this beat is called? Actually, never mind, I'm gonna theorize. And we're gonna learn to play it. Stay tuned. And folks, you guessed it, today's video is brought to you by me, the 80/20 drummer. And if you think we're probably gonna have a lot of beats in this lesson, you're gonna wanna transcribe, you are correct. That's why we've done it for you. You don't have to do it. You can get it for free by clicking the link below the player and telling us where to send it on the next page. Now, on with the lesson. First things first, let's define exactly what I'm talking about. Know the Clyde Stubblefield Cold Sweat beat? Don't write in the comments, okay? I know this isn't the most faithful version. Now imagine playing the same thing with 30 seconds on the hats, hand to hand. Then doubling at least a couple of the backbeats. That gets you close. Here's what this beat is not. It's not breakbeat. Not exactly, at least. It has the 30 seconds of a reggae beat, but the phrasing of that Clyde Cold Sweat beat. It's also not jungle, which to my mind uses one hand on the hats for cymbal and a bunch of ghost notes on the snare to mimic some of those famous jungle beats. Ready for my theory? Here's Chris Dave playing on Meshell Ndegeocello's record Comfort Woman. The record has reggae influences throughout. Another example. But the song that exemplifies this the most is Andromeda and the Milky Way. Now let's go way back in time. Reggae has its origins in this beat that's called the one drop. If we think of Bob Marley and the Wailers, we're picturing Carlton Barrett, who gets a lot of credit for popularizing the one-drop beat. It inspired Stuart Copeland and a whole generation of drummers. In the 90s, of course, we have the invention of jungle, which I'm told was influenced by reggae. Among many other innovations of jungle DJs was adopting Clyde Stubblefield's off-kilter phrasing from Cold Sweat. I don't know if this was a direct influence, but you can see the similarity. Okay, so here's my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. One drop exists, influences a lot of people, etc. Drummers like D'Anthony Parks and Chris Dave are growing up listening to reggae, but also to jungle. By the late 90s, we start to hear this double-time reggae thing. Essentially a one drop with 16ths on the hats. Jungle evolves in its own direction, with Jojo Mayer all the way to Lewis Cole and JD Beck. But D'Anthony, Chris, and their ilk make a branch earlier in the timeline and create jungle-influenced double-time one drop like this.
No storms in these waters, so quiet that turn.
Of course, everybody listens to everybody else in the 2000s, and the lines blur somewhat. But this is my working theory for the origins of jungle drop. At the end of this video, we'll check my messages to some people, including Jarvis Oakley himself, and see if my theory was correct. But now, let's play this puppy. The great thing about this style of drumming is you can throw it in whenever, though certain contexts are going to raise more eyebrows than others. But let's actually learn this in the order of the lineage. I'm going to start by playing a double-time reggae beat like Chris plays on Comfort Woman. As you can hear, I'm playing bass drum on all quarters, and the snare on 3 as it would be in one drop. Now I'll add the hats, starting with a simple pattern. Next, I'll transition to something more like Chris plays. Now, I'll mix in a little Cold Sweat. I'll just phrase the snare as we'd imagine Clyde would. That's beat number 1. To create beat number 2, we'll go in the opposite direction. Let's do as Chris did on Aquarium. We'll start with just the bass and snare, which is making a Stubblefield-esque phrase. Next, we'll mix in some 16ths on the hat. Finally, we'll add all the kick embellishments Chris does. One quick note, against type, I've just been playing head strokes instead of rim shots on the snare, because that's what Chris does. Now let's cover making our own, from the standpoint of what I played over the track in plain sight at Meinl. This track was in 6. During the verse, I played a backbeat waltz kind of thing. But during the breakdown, I was thinking more of this type of thing. My instinct was just to double everything, hand to hand, so let's do that. Finally, I added an extra couple notes, in exactly the same spot as if I'd played in halftime, like this. Here's a double time again. So hopefully you can see how a beat that's kind of permeated modern drumming without anybody paying particular attention to its origins, well, permeated modern drumming without anybody paying particular attention to its origins. Before we go, there's just one more step, and that's to check in with my compatriots who I texted earlier to see if I was correct. Okay. Jarvis did get back to me. He says it comes from electronica, which I think is congruent. Well, we'll put this on YouTube, and I'm sure the people will get super vocal if they detect anything wrong. Anyway, did we do a thing, you guys? Remember, if you'd like a transcription to anything I played in this lesson, you have but to click the link below the player and tell us where to send it on the next page, and that's free. Dudes, it's been real. Always enjoy these. See you again real soon in another lesson of the week.